Chris Pissarides, Regius Professor of Economics here at LSE, also professor in Cyprus, I think, and Hong Kong, author of a book, Equilibrium Unemployment Theory, for which, among other works, I imagine the Nobel Prize is the result.
That was the main work, yes.
I think there's a paradox in your work. On the one hand, I see you arguing at a moral level against inequality and against poverty, and the two are not the same, but passionately against both. On the other hand, your economic theory appears to encourage inequality or, if not impoverishment, some consequences like that. Liberalize services, encourage high wages and services, keep the labour markets flexible, private care and health, minimum wage okay, but it mustn't get too high. Is this a fair comment?
Yes, I'm glad you read all those things, actually. I don't think I've ever met anyone else who saw the combination of the things I said, but they're all consistent, of course, with each other, because my basic approach is that what will get us out of poverty and will make everyone better off is productivity growth and well-functioning markets. And the way to get productivity growth and well-functioning markets is to liberalize services, like we said, not too high a minimum wage. It's basically to allow the free market to operate. Now, what my work shows, especially my more formal mathematical work on unemployment, is that when you do that, you are going to get some people falling through the net as unemployed, and you are going to get wage inequalities. So there is a role for government there, and therefore I've passionately always argued that government should not step back from the economy, but it should get in and try and help low incomes and help the unemployed.
I totally get that reindustrialization is not the answer. Services broadly construed is. I totally get that. What I'm anxious about is that it becomes the guys with the good education, men and women and so on, and then a bunch of dog walkers and carers who are serving coffee, and there's a kind of, what I think we might even have called a kind of backward sector, which is work, but it's not job choice, is it? It's servicing the rich.
Well, in the old days, 19th century industrialization, you had the Wedgwoods and the Fords in America, and then you had all those endless lines of assembly workers. Nowadays, we're not going to get those because all those jobs have been automated, but we're going to get the equivalent in services. We're going to get the CEO of Apple Corporation earning $500 million, but at the same time, we're going to get all those endless demonstrators in the Apple shops and so on who earn $30,000 a year. Yeah,
which
that's
is
the
not
reality
bad.
of work.
Now, maybe a better way to get it is Scandinavian model, because you go into all these complicated, if I may say so, things about the market and so on, but once or twice you say, we might maybe reach their level in the end, the Scandinavians' level.
Yes.
And they're the happiest people and the richest people and so on. What they've got is high tax. Are you a closet social democrat, do you think?
Maybe. I wouldn't call myself a closet. I'd call myself an open social democrat.
So high taxes is the way to get it, which invests in education, health and so on, and delivers happiness.
It would be good if we discovered the perfect world which provides good quality basic services to everyone, high incomes for the low skilled, and we didn't have to tax. But I cannot see how we can provide that world. And the Scandinavians have found a good model in that they have free markets, almost as free as in the UK and United States. They have slightly higher taxation than what we have, because they don't have the National Health Service that absorbs so much tax here and other services, but they provide even more services there through the state, and they've reached a good compromise between the free market and the social democratic. I mean, let me give you an example of a disastrous case. Italy has as high taxes as Scandinavia, but they go to pay civil servants and politicians. They're the most highly paid in the world.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, so they don't provide the services, and yet they have the high taxes.
You're not using the example of Greece. You were one of a number of people who wrote a letter to the FT. Supposing it's having an influence. I'm from Ireland. How will the Irish, the Portuguese, the Spaniards feel if Greece does a special deal, which is a sort of moratorium on debt, a renegotiation and so on, and a massive investment, a reward for what the other countries forbore from doing? Would that be how it would be interpreted?
Well, number one, it would be good for the Greek economy. And what's good for the Greek economy? it's good for Europe as a whole, and in the future it will repay, it will pay back. If we keep giving them money and telling them, here is a little bit more money because you cannot go into open markets, but it's under such and such and such conditions, then we'll never get out of this situation. And two, I repeated a number of times, but I don't think many people buy it, but I don't know why. When we agreed to get into a European Union and into a single currency, we didn't agree to get in as independent governments and countries that were going to pursue our own interests and push the others as much as we can so as to get our interests. We go in as partners. Yeah. When you form a marriage, you don't marry someone thinking, from now on I'm going to argue with my spouse to get as much as I can out of her or him. You go for a sort of joint maximization.
What are you proud? You've had an amazing career, if I may say so. What are you proudest of in your life? One thing.
What I'm proudest of for my unemployment theory, actually, because I see other people using it, and I see it being applied successfully in many countries, in many governments, and it does good to the unemployed. We understand it better. I mean, I've also seen people criticize me very heavily for it, especially people from the far left. They don't realize that, as you say, I am a closet lefty, really.
Chris Pissarides, thank you very much for subjecting yourself to the Gearty grilling.
It was a pleasure.